Hello, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another little helpful, I wouldn't say quite tutorial. It's more of like, a technique for you. And this is called Navajo Plying. And this is great if you have really thin yarn and you just had to have it, but now you're like, I don't feel like making something really itty bitty and tiny with this itty bitty tiny yarn. So this is a great technique for, sock weight yarn, which this happens to be. By the way, this is the colorway of Clover. It's absolutely lovely, but, it's part of my stash because I was more in love with the color than the idea of actually making something with it in such a fine gauge. I mean, this is like thread. Now, this is great for lace weight, fingering weight, etc., etc., and I'm going to show you how to crochet as well as knit with the Navajo Plying. Alrighty. And, because we're not all knitters, we're not all crocheters, so I'm going to show you both techniques. And this is a great way to bulk up your really, really thin yarn. All right, so let's get to it. All right, so to get started, I'm going to show you how to crochet with Navajo Plying, and this is actually a 6.5 millimeter hook, size K. You can use whatever works for you. Now, the basis of Navajo Plying is basically making one strand into three. So we're tripling the thickness of this yarn, and we're going to start with our obligatory slip knot. I'm so used to doing this around a crochet hook. And basically, what it amounts to is, so you have your loop. Okay, I'm going to do that again. You have your loop. Yes, you have your initial slip knot. Then the idea is essentially doing chaining, just as you would, when you're crocheting, no big difference there. And what it amounts to is take your two fingers, stick them through the loop. Okay, now this is your tail. This is not your working yarn. You want to grab your working yarn and pull it through the loop. And it's as easy as that. So now you technically have three thicknesses of the yarn, and you have three thicknesses of the yarn right here. But you want to continue that and so on and so forth. You want to continue to have that thickness, right? And you can make this as long as you want to. Now, again, with your fingers in the loop, grab the working yarn and pull it up. And do that again. And this is Navajo Plying. It's that easy. And you just keep sticking your fingers both into the loop, and you grab, you grab your working yarn and you pull it through. And you can make these loops as big or as small as you want to. Really doesn't matter. Not to my knowledge anyway. And you just keep grabbing the working yarn through your loop. And you are, in essence, you are tripling the thickness of your yarn. So instead of having a skinny mini yarn, you now have something a bit more substantial. And you don't have to have, a whole array of different size. Sorry, you don't have to have an array of, three balls all rolling around simultaneously. You don't have to ply them all by hand. It's that much easier. So then all you would do is obviously start at the end here. And with this now thickened yarn, make your new slip knot like so. Be sure to get all of the plies though. All right. And cinch down your slip knot. And this, of course, like any other tail, you can sew this into your work, no problem. And you just do your normal foundation chain like you normally would when crocheting. And then you can continue to crochet with it. Now, the thing you want to be aware of and careful of is that, like I said, you grab all of the plies all 3 plies every time you're doing a stitch, because if you drop one, it's going to look messy. Don't want that. Don't want messy stitches. And so you just keep making sure that you grab all of your plies as you're doing your stitches. It's the same thing as if you're working with a yarn with loose plies that has a tendency of splitting. It's the same difference. It's the same thing to be aware of. See, look at this. Look how thick this is. Isn't that gorgeous? And so you just crochet as you normally would. And that way you can actually use that really skinny mini yarn instead of having it, collect dust. Now, you see here, I'm at the end of my plying. Real simple. All you do, stick your 2 fingers into that loop, pull up your working yarn, and continue to pull up your working yarn. And you now have some more plying to work with. And you can do this for as long as your project dictates. You can keep plying. Now, of course, be aware that in doing this, you are going to eat through your yarn that much faster, 3 times as fast. So this is good for a yarn that you have a tremendous amount of yardage of, okay? And there you are. That is how you crochet with Navajo Plying. And this is so squishy. I love it. The blended colors, it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's like a field of holly. I love it. Even though it's called clover, but anyway. So this is crocheting with the Navajo Plying technique, or chain plying. And like I said, when you reach the end of your ply, you just grab some more. And then you just grab some more and continue to, oh, it's getting away from me. Grab some more. And I have more plying. It's that easy. And, you can prepare a whole ball this way if you're so inclined, but I think it's better to ply as you go, because then when your project is done, you're good. You don't have to worry about what are you going to do with the rest of that plied ball. So that being said, I'm now going to show you how to do it as a knitted technique. Pretty much the same, but the casting on can be a little bit tricky, so I'm going to show you that as well. Alrighty. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to knit with the Navajo Plying, or chain plying, and this is a size 10 6mm double-pointed knitting needle, just to show you how this technique is also done. Now, of course, starting with our slip knot. Now, you could do this with one long chain, bit of Navajo Plying, and then do a long tail cast on. That is one method. However, I like the idea of doing a short tail cast on for this particular method. So after doing my initial slip stitch, slip knot on there, what I do is I grab my working yarn and I pass it through that loop. It's a little bit tricky, a little bit fiddly, but we manage. Would help if I made that initial loop a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, so passing that working yarn through my initial loop on my needle, then going to tighten up that first one. There we go. Tighten it up just a little bit, not terribly much. And so now I have the beginnings of my Navajo Plying. All right. So then what I'm going to do is then continue to do my Navajo Plying for a bit. Can get a little messy. All right, so I've got a length of my Navajo Plying and my initial cast on right there. So then you grab your other needle, like so, and through that initial stitch, we're doing the short tail cast on, and you're grabbing all three. Be sure to get all three, and we're going to do our short tail cast on. So pulling through all three, up, and then around, and then through, and then tighten that up a little bit, not too much. And what I'll do is actually I will put a link to the short tail cast on in the description box down below. That way you can see perhaps a more thorough way. Now, granted, see right here, we now technically have 4 loops, but you know what? One extra loop on the end stitch, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Trust me. So I'm just going to do a couple more cast on stitches, and then I will show you what it looks like when you have a bit more on there. And the funny thing is that I love fingering weight and lace weight yarn. I really do, but it can be really daunting, the idea of working with size 1 needles and so on and so forth, and doing a project, and it can be very fine, but it can also be very tedious. So this is a great way of using that yarn that you had so many good intentions for, and you're just like, yep, nope, not happening. All right, so then when you're ready to knit, you just go in as normally, and just be sure to get all of the plies and knit as normally. And I'm just going to be doing some garter stitching here. Nothing crazy. I mean, I'm a little crazy, but don't tell anybody, okay? All right, so 2 more, and then that last one, like I said, it's going to have 4, but in the grand scheme of things, your knitting won't know the difference. And it's going to be a little bit tricky to get into that one because it was the initial slip stitch. So it does help sometimes to try to go in from the other side, which I'm going to do right now. If it'll let me. Perhaps I pulled it a little bit too tight. Bear with me one moment. There we go. I think I'm going to get it now. Yep, see, there we go. So just loosening up that first initial bit and then going in. Really? There we go. I got it. I got it. And there you go. So it's all the same thickness, which is really nice. So gorgeous. Finally, a way that we can use that yarn that we had so many good intentions for. They can still be used. It's a beautiful thing. And also, you can use really whatever fine weight of yarn that you have, or if you want to, you could use worsted weight, but you are going to need some mega needles. Like if you're doing knitting, you're going to need probably, size 17s, 13s, thereabouts if you want to do knitting. If you want to do crocheting, I would say probably a size P or a size Q hook for crocheting. But in the end, whatever works for you, by all means, because everybody has different tension. And of course, also, it really depends on the look and the texture of the fabric that you're going for, naturally. Ta-da! And as you can see, I've almost reached the end of my plying. So then, like I said before, to keep going, all you need to do is just take your 2 little fingers and pull, and grab another length. And it helps if your yarn isn't tangled like mine. All right, so, and then grab, and grab, and grab. It's that easy. So you can pre-ply as much as you need to, and then you can go back to your piece and continue knitting or crocheting or whatever it is that you want to do. And you can really make use of some seemingly impossible yarns. And, they don't have to go to waste and sit pretty on the shelf indefinitely. It's a great way to, try a different technique. And I hope that you appreciated and that you liked and learned something today, by all means, because that's why I do it for you guys. You guys are great. And so if you did like this, please give me a little thumbs up button. I would really appreciate that. And also, of course, if you have any comments or anything, love to hear from you. And, I do try to post as often as I can, whether it's knitting, as you can see, or crocheting, audiobook narrations, or my other channel, Fiber Spider Games, where I do, video game playthrough and commentary. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. And until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.